whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no fellow is come up against us. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary. And I will make the place of my feet glorious.
Because the Lord is going to restore everything. You're going to have a total different vibration on the earth, a total different smell. You're not going to be walking down the street and smell shit and piss, you know, and no foul odors or nothing like that, because the lungs of the earth are going to be given back to it, which is all these trees and all of these flowers, and it's going to be a whole total different vibration. You know, you're going to see the aura and how things are going to change and how elevated things are going to be. Our senses are going to be heightened, you know? Everything about us is going to be glorified.
For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit. They shall not plant, and another eat. Whereas the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord.
The Lord said that on the Heavenly Father's right hand there are pleasures evermore. And it says that I have not seen, neither ear heard the things which the Lord hath prepared for them that wait for him. You know, there's a whole nother world of greatness that awaits us when the kingdom of heaven is established. It's not seen in this society. In this society, we only see carnal things that reason offers in this society. But when the kingdom is established, the Lord is going to open us up to a whole nother world, you know, of pleasure, of knowledge, of wisdom, understanding, you know, just, I mean, can't even be put into words, you know, because our imagination only goes but so far.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. The honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and we're going to get into this morning, you know, morning news and prophecy. All right, and what we have, you know, dealing with E. All right, Esau Edom. All right, he's trying to stand with his enchantments. Okay, because his devil, you know, he's all right attempting to establish a new world order, you know, to get this thing off the ground, you know, up and running. You know, he has a lot going on. All right, he's trying to herd, you know, people into this new world order through poverty. All right, through chaos, you know, through stress. okay, through continual psyop, okay. And just as the brother got this precept, it was beautiful that the brother got this. This the hopeful, oh, Salaki. This is the hopeful elect Israelite 144. All right. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 13. It said, but he that shall endure, all right, until the end, the same shall be saved. Okay, because we're gonna have to endure, okay, the uncomforts, all right, of this man attempting to transition into this new world order. Okay, we're gonna have to endure these things, man, because we're in the midst, okay, of all these things that this devil is doing. It's like all these, um, as he dismantles the government, we're going to be affected by it. You know, and that's why, we have to be rooted in Yahweh and believe more than ever, trust more than ever, having patience. You know, but yeah, we coming to a time, all right, where this devil he's full steam ahead. Okay, and we know that Trump, okay, is a bridge from the old world government, all right, to this new world technocracy. Okay, and you have all this controversy about him, turning a part of the White House, making it a ballroom, the East Wing, tearing it down and making it into a ballroom. Okay, and what we're finna see is the people that's the corporation that's invested, okay, into this ballroom. Okay, you see, because we know DC itself is heavily enchanted. It's very satanic, has a very satanic layout. Okay, so we know that this devil, all right, uses DC, okay, as the headquarters of witchcraft, man. Okay, even the American military is drenched, okay, in witchcraft and rituals and satanic symbolism. Okay, when you go into it. Now let's get a few precepts, and I want to get into the video. All right, and it's going to expound, all right, on the wickedness of the devil. Okay, now let's go here. All right, because Esau Edom, believes, all right, that if he can amass enough wisdom, okay, and technology, and through witchcraft, that he's going to be able to be like the Most High. So when you read the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 22, it says, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Okay, and this devil thinks that he can conjure up enough wisdom, on the left hand side to tap into immortality. Okay, to extend his rulership, to sidestep prophecy. Okay, so these devils are in constant counsel. Okay, of how they can just continually obtain wisdom, and that's why AI is so big to the devil, because AI is able to gather and harness wisdom, so much data and information. Okay, and this man believes that through AI he's on to something. Okay, and conjuring up enough wisdom. Okay, to tap into godhood. All right, to tap into being immortal. Okay, but he's deceived. You see, and that's why when you go to Second Thessalonians 2 and 3, it said, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Okay, the son of perdition. So Esau, Edom, being the son of perdition, has been revealed, the son of destruction. Okay, because through his rulership, all right, the earth is finna go through the, all right, the greatest destruction is ever seen. You see, we had to fall away, all right, but we will be awakened to this time, and the prophets will play a major part in the son of perdition, man, Esau, Edom. Okay, and what would this devil be doing? Who opposed it and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High or that is worshipped, so that he sitteth, all right, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Okay, and this man wants to play the Most High in the earth. He wants to sit in that power seat of the Most High. Okay, and he thinks that through left hand means that he's going to achieve that, and really AI has this man geeked up as if he's on to something. Okay, that's why you see he's investing in his data centers, and okay, because this devil, all right, as you know, people are, going through the whys of this shutdown. Well, this shutdown is to destroy, okay, and dismantle the old government. That's why he plans on shutting that old government down for good. Okay, whether it's now, okay, or later, but eventually he plans on to shut that old way of governing down for good anyway. Okay, and he, through his AI, okay, thinks that he's on to something to where he's going to govern the world in a whole new way. Okay, the new world order it is a new world order, a new way to govern the earth. All right, and he plans on doing it through technocracy, man. All right, so this White House, all right, renovation, okay, it tells a story. Okay, so let's go from there. Let's segue to the video. All right, so let's go here. It goes into the title of the video is the Technocrats, all right, ballroom. Okay, and once you go into the people that's investing into this ballroom, okay, it paints a picture, it tells a story. Okay, so let's go into it. We'll comment as needed. All right, so let's let it play.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. As the government continues to play make-believe and pretend that they're shut down, even though they're still collecting taxes, you may have heard that there's a massive renovation going on at the White House. It's up to over $300 million, supposedly, that's going into renovating the entire East Wing of the White House. And I want to cover this story because it's absolutely hilarious how they pretend that our tax money is not funding this renovation. But the answer that they give you to who is funding it is even funnier because it shows us just how in our faces everything truly is. And it's still also incredible to note that while they come out and they tell you that $300+ million is going into a White House renovation, that the citizens in the United States of America don't even know who actually owns the White House. The American people do. Because remember, these characters in Congress who pretend to get voted in, they're supposed to be our employees. They're supposed to be working for us. And the White House is technically, if we believe this is a republic like we're told, owned by the American people. So without any approval from the American people, the United States government is renovating the White House. They're telling you that it's not from your tax money, but guess what? Guess who they're telling you is actually donating and funding this operation? Take a look for yourself.
The Trump administration has demolished the White House East Wing. Crews started working earlier this week to make room for a 90,000 square foot ballroom. Earlier, CBS News' Weijia Jiang asked White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt about the legality of the move and whether the administration was required to notify the National Capital Planning Commission.
Can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Can he demolish this building or say the Jefferson Memorial?
It's not the president who came up with that EPC for many years. Their general counsel has said when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now. So, Olivia, how much is this going to cost and who exactly is funding this?
Well, Lindsay, we now know that this project is going to cost somewhere around $300 million. Originally, this White House told us it was going to be $200 million. Now we are learning it's upwards of $300 million, and the president just said that he has raised about $350 million for this project. So it seems that the costs are continuing to go up. However, the White House has said that this is not taxpayer money, that this is all donations, and the president says he is also willing to contribute some of his own money to this project. So who is exactly donating for this? Well, we got a list from the White House earlier today. Some of the groups include Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Hard Rock International, Google, Lockheed Martin, Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook, Palantir, T-Mobile. There's also several members of the Trump administration who have donated money, including Howard Lutnick, who is the Commerce Secretary, and Kelly Loeffler, who's the head of the Small Business Administration. So certainly a project that continues to balloon here at the White House. As you mentioned, though, the East Wing is completely demolished today.
So what can you tell us about at what point it was decided the entire East Wing would need to go?
It's a good question, because certainly when we were told about this project originally over the summer, the White House promised transparency, and they said that it wouldn't be touched, that the ballroom would be separate from the East Wing. But today, Caroline Leavitt said that they were informed that in order to modernize the East Wing, they would need to demolish it entirely and really raise it to the ground. They said that this was important to the modernization process. Of course, we know that the East Wing was created in 1901, later modernized in 1942, and now it is completely gone, and they are looking to rebuild it, modernize it, and add this ballroom. And Lindsay, they told us today to trust the process.
So those are the
Trust the process. Okay, and that's the theme of this new world order: tear down and build back. Okay, so just as they tore down the East Wing, we're witnessing these devils tear down this whole old government order, man. Okay, you see, in order to enroll into this new government, you're going to have, all right, a device. Okay, so we're in the phase of what you call controlled demolition of this whole system. Okay, so this thing of the East Wing, he tore down, has been completely demolished. As they say, erase it. You know, it's interesting they said that word. All right, that's in the book of Psalms. Okay, when the Edomites was assisting the Babylonians in tearing down our temple, raise it to the ground. Okay, but this devil, all right, he's tearing down, all right, the East Wing, and he's coming back with all technocrats, man. They're tearing down this government, and they're coming back with all technocrats, man. Okay, so let's play this some more, and he's gonna break down, all right, these different players. Okay, and we're gonna see how all these people are tied into, okay, these elite families, okay, from way back, man. So let's play this.
notable White House ballroom donors. You can't make it up. And if you're aware of everything going on in America and the United States of technocracy that they're attempting to build, it makes this story even funnier. Every one of these companies we will go through is involved in your eventual full-on enslavement in this digital grid that they're building out. So all the government shut down, you may have noticed, they're doing this by design. They're causing all this division. They're destroying the infrastructure while they're building out these massive data centers that are going to be used to compile more and more data on us and to use it, of course, against us as we're enslaved with a digital ID in their digital grid. So we can look at these corporations. Of course, they have one thing in common. No, they're not independent corporations. They're all, of course, linked directly to DARPA, who, of course, is your government who uses these shell companies to make it seem as if you're using your free will to purchase things on Amazon, to allow these technology devices in your home, like the Echo and the smart TVs and the smartphones that Apple provides. Google, of course, the internet is a creation of DARPA as well. So all this stuff runs directly through the internet, which was created by DARPA. It was called ARPANET when it was founded. And what they're attempting to do right now is destroy the infrastructure in America so they could build out the technate of America. Now, this might sound new to some of you, but I've been talking about it for a few years now, especially the beginning of this year when Donald Trump came back into power. All of this stuff, the Club of Rome report, the regionalized and adaptive model of the global world system, all of this has to do with the 10 Kingdom plan. And you may notice that the United States is merged with Canada and Greenland. Does that sound familiar? The stories of Trump's plan for a new U.S. empire? Why do you think Donald Trump has been brainwashing his audience into thinking that Canada needs to become the 51st state? Why do you think Donald Trump has such an obsession with acquiring Greenland? It's because he is working for the Club of Rome and he's carrying out the 10 Kingdom plan because he is one of them. And of course, this has everything to do with building out a technocracy. And who is one of the founding fathers of technocracy? Joshua and Haldeman. And who is he the grandfather of? He's the grandfather, the maternal grandfather of Elon Musk. So this 1930s movement.
So Elon Musk, all right, his mother's father, which is his grandfather on his mother's side, all right, was a major part, okay, of this technocracy movement. Okay, and this goes back to the 1930s. Okay, and what we've seen, the technocrats, which are like the modern day Chaldeans, okay, have worked their way, all right, to full control of the government. Okay, these technocrats have full control, okay, over your government. Your government is completely taken over. Okay, your vote is completely irrelevant. Okay, you people, they still think, all right, you don't hear crying about the injustice of your government. Your government doesn't work for you anymore. Your government works for corporations. Okay, that's why everything they do is in the interest of the corporation. Okay, in the disinterest of you. Okay, so this is play some more.
Which would merge the U.S., Canada, and Greenland is happening again today. They're just telling you it's happening for different reasons. Like Trump's doing it for resources. Trump's doing it to make America a superpower by merging it with Canada, right? But it's really about building out a technocracy. And Elon Musk, of course, constantly references technocracy. He's talked about making the Mars technocracy real, accelerating Starship development to build the Martian technocracy. And what do you think all of this stuff with Mars has to do with? Do you think it has anything to do with getting in a rocket ship and flying into space and arriving at Mars when we know that they've never even gone to the moon? It has to do with everything that's coming with eugenics and transhumanism, because that's what their true obsession is. Devon Island is as close to Mars as you may get, because everything they show you and say is from Mars, most of which is CGI, will be, of course, filmed on Devon Island. Where's Devon Island located? Well, it's located all the way up in Greenland. And that's where they plan on carrying out some of these eugenics, transhumanist operations, of course, by telling you that they're actually in Mars. Transhumanism, remember, is the eugenics for the digital age. And what else is Elon Musk bringing in? Well, we talk about technocracy before we go into these corporations. Well, he's bringing in the fourth industrial revolution. This is a post that he retweeted on his Twitter account, his X account, where Dan Ives said, "I've covered tech for 25 years. What I saw yesterday in LA, I think was a game changer. This is a new chapter, the new book for Tesla. Tesla is front and center of the fourth industrial revolution, which is a creation of Klaus Schwab. He wrote the book literally. So they're bringing in the technate of America. It's communism through technology. Again, Doge has already come in. They've gutted the government to install AI. That was the purpose of Doge. But everybody cheered because they heard about were stories they contrived about how your tax money was funding Sesame Street and trans drag shows in Ireland and Iraq Sesame Street shows and all this other nonsense to make people irate, to make people say, tear it down. Elon Musk is a hero, right? His grandfather, again, the founder. He is the founding father, one of them, of the technocracy movement. Peter Thiel, who we'll hear about in this video momentarily, has been behind it for 20 years. Epstein was a transhumanist and a eugenicist. That's the one thing you don't hear mentioned in the mainstream media. In addition to the fact that he was a pedophile and involved in child trafficking rings, a lot of it had to do with eugenics and breeding. cryptocurrency will be used, as we saw Coinbase mentioned as one of the companies supposedly funding the White House renovation. We have Israel, of course, a backer of the technocracy, as well as the CIA, the FBA, the DOJ, the DHS, the NIH, the WHO, the United Nations, NATO, BRICS. They're all involved. They're going to build out a global technocracy, which is why I constantly cover AI governance. It is governance.
All these players are involved. All right, the WHO, okay, the wealth, all right, BRICS, okay, all these nations, okay, are part of the Council of a New World Order. Okay, Psalms 2 and what's the book of Psalm chapter 2, all right, verse 1. If a brother want to post it, the book of Psalm chapter 2 and verse 1. Okay, because all these heathens, okay, are in alliance. The elites of these heathens, okay, the common man, all right, the commoners amongst all these heathens, they don't know what's going on. They're just being herded into a new system. Okay, that's why China already has, the social credit score, okay, surveillance state, all right, digital ID system. China is already, ahead of the game. Okay, so all these elites or these other nations are in cahoots, okay, with this technocracy. All right, India is big on a cashless society. Okay, Russia has is big on digital currency. Okay, smart cities. Brother just did a lesson dealing with Jamaica. Lord will, I can do a lesson on it. Dealing with Jamaica and their ambitions of smart city. Okay, so the world is on board for this technocracy, man. Now the thing is to herd the masses. Well, first to depopulate, because that's another theory of the technocrats is that there needs to be a depopulation first. Okay, and that's why it's going to be in their mind. They're getting a 2-for-1. They get to cause chaos, cause people, to purge and, unleash, different pestilence and, mercenaries and, kill squads. Okay, to cause havoc in the earth. You see, mainly here in America. You see, so while they cause fear and chaos, they can depopulate, and also they can pop up as a hero with this technology. Okay, and there's another thing. When you take that seat here, ain't no more Democrat and Republican. No, you own to corporations. You see, as he was talking about the 10, all right, the 10 zones, all right, the 10 kingdoms. Okay, those are going to be, all right, ran by corporations. Okay, not by elected officials, not by Democrats and Republicans and whatever parties these other nations got, but no, you're going to be all right, the direct ownership of corporations. Okay, the direct property of corporations. You see, so let's go here. Let's read this real quick. This is the brother GMS Des Moines, Psalms 2 and 1. It says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" Okay, so these, because you go into the word rage in the Hebrew is shagash. It goes into conspire or to plot. All right, and this is what these devils have been plotting on. All right, for centuries, man. Okay, and this technocracy, this ideology of a technocracy, okay, reared its head in the 1930s, and now it's at the forefront. And now, all right, we're in the transition. Okay, so everything that this devil is doing, the government shutdowns, the civil unrest, okay, everything that this devil is doing, all right, is transitioning to this technocracy, man. Okay, and all these people are connected. Is he gonna continue, all right, on in the video? Okay, and if a brother can post it in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11 in the NLT Bible, which I lay a place some more.
Run through artificial intelligence. It is going to be the worldwide system of communism, all run through technology with digital ID. So, for anyone that doesn't know what a technocracy is, it's a model of governance wherein decision makers are chosen for office based on their technical expertise and background, which means Gates, Musk, Bezos, Larry Ellison, all these psychopaths who tell you every single time they speak that we need behavioral changes, which is what they want to bring in. They want to make us subservient slaves to their technocracy. Okay? It's authoritarian rule through technology. So let's take a quick look here into all the companies that were mentioned that are involved in funding it, because it's absolutely hilarious that they.
And the shutdowns, going back to 2020, introduced you to, it gave you a glimpse of technocracy because these so-called professionals and specialists, began to tell you what to do. So-called doctors and, let's say, Kill Gates, these certain professionals began to tell you people what to do, unelected, billionaires just jumped on the scene and began to tell you what to do. They pretty much was the government, all right, during the shutdowns. So now they're with Trump. They want to roll this out permanently. They want to roll this technocracy out, all right, permanently, man. So he's going to go into, all right, these companies, and how they tie into, this technocracy agenda,
Even would say something like this and nobody would even budge and say, that's weird. Why would these companies be building a new wing in the White House? What do they have to do with the White House? Well, these are the companies, these shell companies for DARPA that are building, again, our enslavement grid. So Palantir, Meta, OpenAI, don't forget, this year they announced that a lot of the executives from these corporations are now U.S. Army reserves. They've been given titles such as lieutenants. They've been sworn into the U.S. Army without any training whatsoever. And we start, of course, with the biggest one of all, which is Palantir, which is really big brother. Our entire enslavement goes through all those corporations and some more, but Palantir is really at the top of the pecking order when it comes to enslaving humanity. President Trump has already partnered with Palantir. Palantir is compiling data on Americans as we speak. They're getting away with it, of course, because they're telling Americans that Palantir is doing this because of immigration. So they're doing things illegally with your cell phone to find out if you're a legal citizen or not. And MAGA is cheering for it instead of realizing they're doing it to you too. And eventually they're going to turn on you and they're going to turn on Democrats. They're going to turn on everybody. And this technology is going to enslave all of us. Again, Palantir is big brother. And here's Peter Thiel, who is the founder of Palantir, along with Alex Karp, talking about literally government, how technology is going to be the alternative to politics, because these people are just going to take over using technology, which is why they are completely dismantling the infrastructure, and people are okay with it because they're so divided over ridiculous issues, which is why they keep bringing things up like gay marriage, abortion, the trans debates, what they're doing to kids with trans. They're doing these things so that you're going to be okay with them destroying the infrastructure. So here they are.
So real quick, because Palantir, all right, and there's pretty much going to be, the, the data, because through Palantir, they're putting all these different, softwares and, they putting all these systems and everything in one with Palantir, so all the data that comes from Facebook, all right, Instagram, and the internet in general, all the data that's going in, all right, well, Palantir is tying everything together, and making it available, for, all right, the technocrats, so Palantir, all right, is being used, to condense and to consolidate all the data on these major data centers. Salakia. And that's going to be, the branch that deals with the data. It's going to be through Palantir. Okay, so all the surveillance, the Ring cameras, which we're going to go into that too, how it all ties in. Okay, the Ring cameras, the smart, TVs, the smart homes, the smart appliances. Well, Palantir is going to be the one, all right, collecting and deciphering, all right, their data in the new system, facial recognition, thought crime. Okay, because the Neuralink. Well, guess what? Peter Thiel, all right, is partners with who? Elon Musk. Okay, which goes into what the Neuralink, which is the brain interface. And see, these people are just front men, okay, for these government, okay, entities. All right. But if they say that, look, this is the private sector, okay, well, it takes off certain government restrictions, okay, because the private sector has more, all right, range than the government. Okay, and with the private sector, they're able to sell product. Okay, through deception. And see, you have to understand, like the government shutdown. Let's say someone has is a contractor right now for the government, for construction, to building a bridge. Well, guess what? They're not getting paid during the shutdown. Okay, they're not getting paid for work already done. They've had to quit work and fire, okay, and lay off, their employees because the cash flow stopped. Okay. Well, guess what? Peter Thiel, okay, Elon Musk, all right, Lockheed Martin, all these are supposedly private sector corporations. But you think that these billion-dollar contracts that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Lockheed Martin, you think they're not getting paid during the government shutdown? Okay. But if you're a little mom and pop, concrete business, that has a government contract, you're not getting anything right now. Okay. But these guys here are still getting the billions, man. Okay. Because it's not private, it's government. Disguised as private. Okay. And he's going to go into that.
Even admitting, here's Peter Thiel admitting to building a technocracy. And of course, Shyam Sankir, the CTO of Palantir, talking about how Palantir is going to be the central for all government, for all medical, for all everything. It is going to be Big Brother.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
According to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system.
Now you listen to the language, he said he looked pretty much like we tired of begging the masses. Okay. They're tired of begging the masses, to accept this change they want to bring. Okay. So they like, look, they not gonna get it. We finna go with our move. All right, order out of chaos. Okay. So this is what these devils are at with it, man.
System as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
And again, there's no hiding Trump's affiliation with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is connected to pretty much every single person in government. Most people know his direct connection to J.D. Vance as well. And Palantir is pre-crime. Palantir is going to be used as the pre-crime authority through artificial intelligence when they start arresting people based on things they search for, because their algorithm, they're going to brainwash people into believing it's saving lives, it's stopping school shootings, it's stopping terrorist attacks. And it's going to be too late when people realize the technocratic state is already operational, when they realize that they're the true enemy of the state. They're already using predictive policing in New Orleans and other places. We've seen lots of stories out there about how the police are using AI. It's all just them transitioning us into artificial intelligence and you accepting it because you're becoming so cold and so opposed to the opposite political party that you'd rather have everything run through technology than have it run with human beings. And they're doing it by design. They are actors. Let's move on. How about Meta? Meta funding it, right? Interesting fact. Did you know that Mark Zuckerberg's real name is Jacob Greenberg, grandson of David Rockefeller? If you believe that story, that Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook at college and took it from those twins, you are obviously completely asleep. LifeLog is really what Facebook is. The Pentagon launched LifeLog. They created LifeLog, and then they destroyed LifeLog on February 2nd, 2004, on the same exact day that Facebook launched. And again, the shell corporations like Facebook, Meta,
You can't make it up. All right. And all these are just shell corporations. All right. Facebook is nothing but CIA. All right. Software to spy and to collect data. Okay. Instagram, TikTok, all these things. Okay. Just CIA software to collect data, to spy. Okay. To train AI. Okay. And they give you these stories like, Mark Zuckerberg, like he stole Facebook from, his classmates in college. And you see, he was living in his car for 2 weeks, and he ran into this guy. He gave him a shot, and Facebook took off. Okay, so they have these fabricated stories on how these certain players come up and become billionaires. No, they're connected, all right, to these elite families. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, the grandson, okay, of Rockefeller, man. Okay, which Rockefeller is the American branch of the Rothschilds. Okay, these devils implant, these people in society as if, they just organically came up through the ranks through capitalism, and then also pushes that the American dream is alive and well. You can make it. Okay, but nah, these people are plants, okay, with fabricated, stories and biographies, okay, to make it seem as if they're just authentic Americans that came up. Okay, but nah, they're a planet, okay, and they're linked, okay, through bloodline, all right, through these elite families, man. Okay, so let's let it play some more.
Apple, they're all needed because if the government came to your door and asked you to sign up for a website where you put your location, where you put your thoughts, where you put your photos, you would not comply. They want you to think you're free will, and they're using brainwashing techniques so that you do, with your free will, sign up for sites like Facebook, buy technology from Amazon and Apple. Otherwise, if DARPA came to your door with this stuff, you would never allow it inside of your home. And that's why they use shell corporations. So we have Meta, another direct connection again to the CIA, to DARPA. Then we get Amazon. I've covered many times. Jeff Bezos. Do you think this character came up with all this wonderful technology that Amazon has? Of course, he did not. He is, of course, a grandson of the DARPA co-founder who goes by the name of J.P. Geis. That's his direct connection to DARPA. He is pretending to sell you these devices like the Amazon Echo because this is NSA DARPA technology that they want you to bring into your home. And of course, once they passed the Patriot Act after 9/11, that gave them the ability to legally, technically, listen inside of all of our homes 24/7, 365. And of course, Bezos just recently was married. I have to throw this in because he had an extravagant pizza party for anybody who may not have been following me at the time, because
And as you know, all right. So let's go back. All right. So let's deal with his grandfather. All right, and DARPA. What is that? Okay, because I say you think just Amazon. He came up, selling books. They give you this romantic story about Jeff Bezos. He's a plant. Okay, you're not allowed to get hundreds of billions of dollars, and you just came up through capitalism. Through free enterprise capitalism. Okay, in America, you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps. No, you're planted, all right, because they belong to certain families. So now, when you go into Bezos, all right, his grandfather, all right, It said Jeff Bezos' grandfather, Lawrence Preston Guys, often called Preston Guys, played a notable role in U.S. government research and technology development. Okay, you see, so this is heavily tied into technocracy, technology. Okay, that they've been planning for years, man. Okay, for decades. It says, including work that intersected with the early history of what became DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And see what they do, they sell you, okay, military equipment, all right, under the guise of Echo or Ring camera. Okay, this is military technology that they're putting in people's home. Okay, they have people buying, all right, technology that's going to play a part, you see, in this digital prison. Okay, right now you give Echo commands. Pretty soon, Echo is going to give you commands. Okay, when they when they flip the switch. Okay, it says Guys was a regional director at the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission in Albuquerque, New Mexico during the 1950s and early 1960s. Connection to DARPA, he was not directly employed by DARPA, which was created in 1958. Guys was in the defense research and technology ecosystem that overlap with DARPA's early activities. The AEC collaborated with military and research agencies, including DARPA's, all right, precursors on projects involving nuclear research, energy, and advanced defense technology. Okay, Guy's career exposed Bezos, who spent summers with him on the Texas ranch. And what you think he was lacing them with? Okay, what you think he was putting them down with? Okay, what you think was going on at that Texas ranch? All right, to engineering, government research, and technical problem solving experiences Bezos has credited as early inspirations for his interest, okay, in science, all right, and innovation. All right, now, what is DARPA? Okay, it says DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, is a U.S. government agency under the Department, okay, of Defense, the DoD, whose purpose is to develop breakthrough technologies for national security, man. Okay, and they give you this narrative that it's all for national security, okay, but it's mainly for surveillance, okay, and control, okay, because your government has been at war with you, all right, for decades, man. Okay, it says, let me see what else he give us. Uh, hmm. That's pretty much it. Just a quick understanding of DARPA. You can look into it more on your own. But let's get back to the video. Let's get this too. All right.
Whether you weren't on the website or if one of my channels was deleted. Well, he threw a big pizza party with A-list celebrities at his
Oh yeah, yeah, and that pizza party. Now you remember what Pizza Gate? Okay, and this might be a man. Looking at this nigga here, man. Okay, but the Pizza Gate went to the PDF file. All right. So he threw this extravagant pizza party, man. Okay, so you know what that was about. Okay, and I said this might be a whole nigga, man. All right, these people are weird, man. All this goddamn money, and they just got the weirdest desires, man. Okay, these people ain't fit. It's 2 Corinthians 2:11. The hopeful elect Israelite 144. It's at least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, man. And we know how this devil gets down, man. He's very deceptive. Okay, he's very strategic in his wickedness. Okay, and he loves setting snares and traps for the masses, man. Okay, so this is what this devil is on. All right, he's rolling out technocracy. All right before your eyes, while you're arguing about, you know, looting Walmart, okay, and you know who should get food stamps or you know whatever. All right, this devil is rolling out his technocracy, man. Okay,
$50 million wedding or whatever the ridiculous price tag was. So all the technology that Amazon is bringing in, whether it's the Ring, which again, people are putting cameras on their home, they're scaring you into putting cameras on your home, they're creating the surveillance state through us allowing this stuff, us purchasing this stuff ourselves and putting it on our homes, right? And then of course on Amazon, you know that the entire thing with Amazon is that you can get everything on there and you never have to leave your home. And that's how they expect you to live eventually with carbon laws. Stay home, just like you did during COVID. That's what Amazon is building towards, the drone deliveries, no human involvement, do everything online. And you'll have to have a digital ID to be able to do that. And remember, you won't be able to buy or sell either without the mark of the beast. So keep that in mind. Who else do we have here? We have Lockheed Martin, right? You know, Next Gen Defense is Lockheed Martin, who creates with our tax money all this insane technology for warfare, like directed energy weapons, and then tells us, well, we're building this so that we can protect you, our citizens in America, from attacks like Russia or China. But the reality is they use it against us, just like we saw in Lahaina with that directed energy weapon when the civilians there refused to sell their homes. Well, they decided to take matters into their own hands. And that's what our tax money goes towards, funding operations like Lockheed Martin, who pretends to be some independent corporation working for the government. Who else do we have on the list? We have T-Mobile, right? Well, there's your tie-in, of course, with all these cancer towers, these radiation towers that are around us, and nobody has even asked the question as to why we see these towers every 100 yards on highways. We see them in the middle of fields. And you go, well, wait a minute, who is given the authority to do that? Well, your government has, because of course, all these wireless companies, again, are affiliated with DARPA, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, right? And they're killing us slowly with these emissions that are coming out of these towers. But of course, these towers serve multiple purposes. And they don't, you know, the purpose of them is not to make your phone go faster. The purpose of these towers is twofold. We know about the dangers of these towers with radiation exposure and the health, concerns that they cause, but also for weather modification as well. Who else do we got on this list? We've got Coinbase, right? So there's your cryptocurrency. There's your digital currency that's going to be instrumental in enslaving us. We've got, we got Google on there. No surprise, right? Google, which is a DARPA enterprise run by the CIA. What do you think? Somebody's came up with it. The origins of Google, of course, go back to DARPA and the NSA and all the three-letter, agencies that pretty much control our lives. And of course, people just look at a search engine and they say to themselves, well, I can type this in and that's it. It goes away. It goes into these data centers, these databases where they're obviously monitoring and tracking everything that you're searching. And think about, again, what this is really about, which is controlling your mind eventually. They're inside everybody's minds right now as we speak, because every time you type something into Facebook about how you're feeling, they know how you're feeling. Every time you search for something on Google, they know what you're searching. They know what your brain is thinking about, okay? Google is one of the biggest tentacles, obviously, of the government. And of course, we know that the logo for Google, no coincidence that we see the 666 right in there blatantly. And last but not least, let's talk about Apple, right? Of course, the logo for Apple, for anyone that's wondering why it's an apple with a bite mark, well, it represents the forbidden fruit, of course, referencing the Bible, as they always do. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak sold, of course, their first Apple computer for how much? $666.66. I'm sure that's a coincidence, right?
Over here, we've got the very first computer we ever built. I hand wired the entire bottom, soldered it all together. That was an Apple I, the first Apple I computer ever.
Those were the most incredible times. The summer that I built the Apple I computer, I was totally aware that a revolution was close to starting. Steve Jobs came into town. He'd pop into town, see what I was up to, the latest thing I designed for fun, and then he'd somehow turn them into some money for both of us. So Steve Jobs went in to sell him some of our little boards that we built for $20. He said no. They want to buy the thing ready to go. It cost us $250 to build maybe. We'd sell it for $500. And then the retail price was $666.66 because I, as a mathematician, like repeating digits. And that was what it should be.
Right, of course.
You can't make it up, man. All right. And all these companies, all right, are nothing but government entities described as private corporations, okay, which, they're able to gain the trust of the consumer market through, these private corporations. And all these people got stories. It's a movie on Steve Jobs, all right, how he came up and all. No, these are plants, all right, connected to these elite families, okay, in the face of these major corporations, all right, these false private corporations, which are government entities, okay, and now they've reached a point, okay, to where they're ready to transition, okay, into a technocracy, man. Okay, so you go here, all right. Let's get this real quick. Get a couple precepts. This is Isaiah 47. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. All right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, verse 10. It says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me." Okay, so this devil, he's trusting in his wickedness to prevail. This devil is like, look, I'm way ahead of these people, you know. And he's like, look, the masses are falling into the trap that I set. Okay, I'm good. And he's used to doing this. Okay, and getting away. See, he's used to doing this over and over and over again on the masses, man. Okay. And tricking people and deceiving people, okay, into his agenda. Okay, to the part that he think that he is. He think that he's the most high. He says, I am. Okay. It said, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it rises. Yeah, because this devil prides itself on knowing everything, on playing both sides, on being the one that's deceiving, not knowing that he's being deceived. Okay. And pride has him blinded, man. Okay. So the Lord's going to cause things to happen that this devil didn't plan for. See, this devil, he's used to, all right, planning everything. Okay. He's used to seeing his agenda go forth in the earth. But the Lord is going to cause things to happen that this devil didn't plan for. Okay. Because he's limited. See, the Most High is not, the Most High is the one that's really omnipotent, omnipresent. What Esau wants to be through technology. Okay. And the Most High finna show that there's a big difference between him and these Edomites, man. Okay. And it says, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Okay, so all this planning, plotting, and scheming, and decades of enchantments and propaganda and conditioning the people and herding them into this new system is gonna be for naught, man. You're gonna be in straits. This devil's getting ready to be in straits, man. Okay, it says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Because America was founded on witchcraft, man. Okay, the founding fathers, okay, were all into this witchcraft, man. Okay, these different enlightenment, theology, ideologies. Okay, the technocracy. They was all into these things, man. Okay, transcending, transhumanism. Okay. It said, if so be that thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Okay, so the Lord is mocking this devil, man, telling this devil to tap in. He's telling Esau to tap in. Tap into your witchcraft, man. Tap into your technology, because this technology is witchcraft, man. It said, thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Okay, which they're not going to be able to. Esau's finna fail. Okay, you see, but we're seeing this man trying to stand with his enchantments. Okay, but the Lord finna judge this man. All right, and he's going to use Esau to judge a lot of people before he's judged, but ultimately Esau's going to be judged, man. Okay, verse 14, behold, they shall be a stubble, the fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, there shall not be a coal to warm it, no fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth, they shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee, man. So Esau is being isolated, okay, for judgment. Okay, and what this devil is doing, okay, he's playing right into the trap that the Lord has for him. So while he's all right, fiddling people, okay, into a trap of this new world order, all right, and the Lord is fiddling this devil, okay. You see, the Lord has him deceived, and he's walking into the trap of the Most High, man, which is the end of his empire and captivity for this devil, man. So that was the point. Just wanted to get into that this morning. Lord will. All right, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations, hopefully, shalom.